Category 1 Hurricane Isaac makes landfall this evening, leaving hundreds of thousands without power in the Gulf Coast. Good evening and thanks for joining us on Local 4 News. I'm Nicole Ayub. We begin tonight with forecaster Russ Pappas with the latest on Hurricane Isaac's path. Russ?
Well, good evening, Nicole. Thanks for having me in your home. Just to give you an idea, some of the video shots that you saw of New Orleans, temperature there 77 degrees, winds. Sustained wind speeds 45 miles per hour with rain. Now the gusts almost near 70 miles per hour. Category 1 hurricanes begin at 74 miles per hour and go all the way up to 95 miles per hour. That's where Isaac is right now. Gusts of 98 miles per hour, sustained wind speeds of 80 miles per hour. You can see landfall made earlier this evening. The center of Isaac actually wobbling a bit to the west, now back over the ocean. He is moving very slow, and heavy rain and storm surge affecting the coastal region. Now, we have our very own Robert Bettis. He's right in the middle of it all. He's got this report.
Robert, what can you tell us out there?
Canal Street. I know I live in El Paso. I know we're not used to this, but let me give you a little tour of what's going on. Now, it's been a pretty quiet afternoon. The rain has come in sporadically, but now it's starting to pick up. The winds are actually a factor at this point, gusting to about 60 miles per hour. Hurricane Isaac, as I understand at latest observation, was about 70 miles from where I am on Canal Street in New Orleans, and now it's drifting slowly toward the west, pulling heavy rain bands with it. So it's going to be a long night with heavy rainfall. I got a chance this afternoon to go out when it wasn't raining and talk to some of the people of New Orleans and some tourists too.
The city of New Orleans is bracing for Hurricane Isaac. Much of the city looks deserted, but there are people still here, residents and tourists.
All my neighbors, yeah, I live in a complex. There's about 8 apartments there, and I think only one person has gone.
A lot of people that I know are staying. They riding it out, but I've heard a lot of people are leaving. You know, a lot of people were nervous.
The Red Cross is also here, making sure they're ready to go and reaching out to the people who are staying.
Most of the people that we've run into in this area have been tourists, people that unexpectedly kind of find themselves here and they're not really quite sure what to do. So we are sharing a little bit of information.
The guy in our hotel is like said, don't worry, because we were trying to leave this morning, but the airport's shut, so we're like literally stuck here.
This was our first time ever, lifetime coming to New Orleans, so we said, let's go.
Before the hurricane hits, people are out and about, making sure they have what they need.
We stocked up on food and water.
We're going to stay in, but we're trying to find water right now.
Now I think we're better prepared. I see the city is well prepared. I see police stations with the proper, you know, it's like we have it together now.
I think they're actually more prepared now, knowing that that Katrina hit, you know, how bad it was. I think that everybody's ready now.
Now here's the interesting part about Hurricane Isaac. It was supposed to actually make landfall at about 1 o'clock in the morning, which would put it on the exact same day as Hurricane Katrina hit 7 years ago. Of course, Katrina, that was the worst disaster, at least dollar-wise, in American history, $108 billion. And it was the 5th most deadly storm with over 1,800 lives lost. Now, the big question for the people of New Orleans isn't necessarily the rain, because there are people skipping around, getting coffee, you know, doing their thing right in the middle of the rainstorm. It isn't the wind, it's whether the levees and the dikes, which supposedly have been completely repaired and are ready to go, it's if they hold. If they hold, Isaac is not a problem. If they don't, it's a problem. Nicole?
Now, Robert, what about law enforcement? 7 years ago when Katrina hit, riots and looting broke out. What are police doing now to prevent that from happening again?
First of all, the authorities are taking no chances. They have issued a mandatory curfew as of 9 o'clock tonight, and the National Guard, the police, will arrest people on the spot, no questions asked, if they're outside of their home. So they want to take every precaution to make sure that people don't take advantage of a situation the way they did back with Katrina.
And then, Robert, people outside of New Orleans might be thinking, well, Isaac is nowhere near the size of Katrina. You're in the middle of it all. How serious is it, really?
Well, here's the deal. The million-dollar question, as I mentioned, was whether or not all the levees hold. Remember, in Katrina, it was a Category 3 storm that basically didn't hurt the city. It was when the levees failed and flooded the city that all chaos broke out. If they hold, no problem. And the mayor of New Orleans actually had this to say a little bit earlier today.
As you can see, the effects that we thought would come from a major storm are in fact taking place. And again, to reiterate to the public, it's a very serious matter. And if we follow very carefully and we are safe, we ought to be able to protect life and we ought to be able to protect property, and it will give us an opportunity to have our life return to normal as soon as possible. We are in the process of planning the next phases of this.
Now, Nicole, on the fun side, I actually had a chance to meet Al Roker. You have to go onto our Facebook page to see that little number. We're having a good time, too, in addition to the rain. Reporting live in New Orleans, I'm Chief Meteorologist Robert Bettis.
Thank you, Robert. I'm sure that was a highlight of your day, and I can't wait to hear all about it when you get back. Robert's Hurricane Isaac coverage doesn't end tonight, though. He'll be joining us again live tomorrow at 5:30 and 10 with all of the latest from New Orleans.